Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Storytelling for Time Travel Tots. My name is Emily, and I work at the National Archives. It's a wondrous place full to the brim of archive documents, and these contain some amazing stories and unexpected things. Last time, Dani told us the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Well, we have another fairy tale character for you today, and his name begins with a J. Can you guess who it is? It's Jack and the Beanstalk. You may have already heard of him. Once again, I will be back after Dani's story to tell you about our Jack-themed documents. See you soon!
Hello everyone! It's great to see you. My name is Dani the Storyteller and I'm here for the National Archives. Now, you were just listening to Emily tell you what wonderful things we have at the National Archives, all the documents, all the pictures and all kinds of other things too. One of those pictures is this one, and as you might be able to see, it's from the story of Jack and the Beanstalk. And that's the story that we're going to jump inside today. Now, it's a fairy story, a fairy tale, which means that it's a story that's been around for a long time. And it's one of the stories we're going to be telling. Now, just before we go on that adventure, I want to see who's watching from home. So I'm going to take out my binoculars. I'm going to have a look to see, and I can see Tolu. And I can see Clara. And Finn, and Asya, and Sophia, and Charlie, and I can see you. So thank you for coming to join me. Now, often we have my friend Rat here to listen to the stories, but Rat's gone on holiday. So in our last story, we had a wolf. And the wolf in the story was a bit naughty. It was Little Red Riding Hood. So I said to Wolf, now, seeing as Rat's not here, you can come and listen to this next story, but no eating grandmas. You have to be well behaved. So Wolf's going to listen to the story, but hopefully not do anything naughty. Now, before we go inside the story, let's do some claps. Can you show me your fastest clap? Really fast, really fast. Can you show me a slow clap? Now, I want you to show me a really high clap because there's something in this story that's very, very high. Good. And a giant clap. Can you show me a giant clap? Because there's something rather giant in this story too. Really big giant clap. Oh. Brilliant. Okay, time for us to use our imaginations. Time for us to go inside the story. Now, in a moment, we're going to spin our hands. And when we spin, it means we are pretending. But when you spin your hands, I want you to help me out. I want you to make the sound of a cow. Just a cow. No other animal, please. Just the cow. Are you ready? Let's spin our hands forward. Let's spin backwards. Let's spin high and down, down low. Spin fast and slow. And then close your eyes, get ready for the cow, and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes, let me hear. Moo, moo. Excellent. The reason for that is that this farm only had one cow on it. No pigs, no sheep, no horses, no chickens, just one cow. And the reason for that is this. This farm was lived on by one boy called Jack and his mum. And things had been a little bit tight. They no longer had any money. In fact, they'd had to sell all of the other animals and were left with just Daisy the cow. And on this day when our story begins, Jack's mum looked into the money pot and saw just 1 penny. Oh. So she asked Jack in a sad way, "Jack, I'm going to need you to take Daisy the cow to market. Try and get as much money as you can. We don't have anything else." Jack, being a very brave, very happy, very helpful boy, said, "Of course I'll go, Mum, don't you worry." And off he went, taking Daisy the cow with him. Now, as Jack walked along the road, can you make your finger puppetry? He saw a man. And this man was wearing an unusual pair of glasses and a rather fabulous hat. And he was shaking a tube of magic beans. And when he saw Jack, he began to speak. "Hello, young man, what a fine cow you've got there. I'll tell you what, if you give me that there cow, I will give you these marvellous magic beans." Well, Jack had never seen magic beans before, so of course he said yes. He took the beans and gave the man with the strange hat and the unusual glasses Daisy the cow, and off he went excitedly back home, shaking the beans. Can you show me your excited faces? Oh, so exciting, magic beans! Only when he got home, his mum was not excited. His mum was not pleased. Can you show me with your faces what kind of feeling do you think Jack's mum had? Yes, she was cross. She was annoyed, she was frustrated, so much so that she took those beans and she threw them out of the window. Woo! Can you make the throwing sound? Woo! Very good. And Jack was sent to bed without any tea. As the night came and the moon came up and Jack restlessly slept in his bed, something began to grow in the garden. Where the beans had laid now began to grow an enormous beanstalk that grew far out of sight. When Jack woke up in the morning and looked out of his window, he was amazed, he was pleased, he was excited. Do you think he climbed that beanstalk, or do you think he was too scared? You're right. He climbed it all right. He climbed from the very bottom all the way up to the top. I want you to climb your beanstalk. Get your climbing hands. Now I'm going to make the climbing sound, and I want you to climb either sitting or standing from the bottom all the way to the top when you hear the up sound. Are you ready to climb? Ready? All the way to the top. Brilliant! Ready? One more time. Slide down. Climb it one more time. Are you ready? Ready? All the way to the top. Brilliant! Well done. Now, when Jack got to the top of the beanstalk, he looked around and everything was big. Everything was giant. Can you make yourself as big as you can? Big hands, big faces, big bodies. And Jack began to explore. He found a giant house, and inside that giant house was lots of delicious giant things. Jack didn't just look at those things, no. He began to steal them. He found a giant bag of the giant's money. Slinging it over his shoulder, he took it and took it down the beanstalk back to his mother. The next day, he found some rubies, gems, beautiful, and took those down the beanstalk back to his mother. Another day, he found a golden harp that played itself. And another day, a goose that laid golden eggs. Each time he found a new treasure, he would take it down the beanstalk to give to his mum. Until one day, the giant smelt him, and Jack heard the giant begin to speak in his giant voice. Can you get ready with your giant voice? It's going to come from down here, and it sounds something like this. Fee, fi, fo, fum. Your turn. Join in with me. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Fee, fi, fo, fum. I smell the blood of an Englishman. And Jack was an Englishman. Jack, scared now, afraid of the great giant, began to run, and the giant chased after him. Now, as storytellers, we need to be both Jack and the giant. So this is how we're going to do it. When Jack's running away, turn your arm into the ground, turn your 2 fingers into Jack's legs, and it goes like this. Running and 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 running. Good. When you're being the giant, much slower but bigger steps, and it goes like this. Running, running. Show me. Running, running. Great. Let's carry on with the story. So Jack nervously ran out of the giant's house and began to run towards the top of the beanstalk. Ready? Running and 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 running. But the giant ran behind him. Running, running. And Jack carried on running. Running and running and running and running and running and running and running. And the giant carried on chasing him. Running, running. Running and running and running and running. Running. Until Jack finally got to the top of the beanstalk, and he began to climb down as fast as he could, climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. And the giant got on the beanstalk too, and it began to wave from side to side. And as Jack got to the bottom, he called out to his mum, "Mum!" What did he say? "Mum! Get the axe!" What did he say? "Get the axe!" And she got the axe, and Jack began to chop, chop. And it didn't fall, and he chopped again, chop. One more time, chop. And the beanstalk began to fall. And so did the giant. It was bad news for the giant, but good news for Jack and his mum, and they lived happily ever after. Now some people say the giant got what he deserved for chasing after Jack, but I say, was Jack right to steal all of the giant's things? You'll have to decide that. But for now, my friends, it brings us to the end of the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, and we need to get out of here in case there's another giant around. Spin your hands forwards and backwards, high, low, fast, slow. Close your eyes and count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes. We're back home. We're not pretending anymore. Wolf, well done, good listening. Thank you for not eating any grandmas in the story. You've been brilliant. Emily's going to tell you a bit more about this image, and there may be some other ones too. Give yourselves a pat on the back, a shake of your hand, 1 thumb up, 2 thumbs up. Give yourselves an oh yeah. and I will see you soon for another exciting adventure. Goodbye. Well done. See you soon.
Hi again. Wow, I am exhausted from all of that running. Why don't we sit down, catch our breath, and find out all about the document that you could see in Dani's story. You can see it on your screen now. At the top, it reads Jack in the Beanstalk, with the figure of Jack in a rather fabulous outfit climbing up the beanstalk. The beanstalk looks to be made up of lots of people. I wonder if this means anything. I can reveal that this is actually a poster for the theatre. A theatre is a place where you can go and watch plays and musicals. You can see here that it says at Drury Lane. Drury Lane is a real street in London, famous for having lots of theatres on it. Now, it isn't clear which theatre that the play was being held at, but my guess is that it is the Theatre Royal, a theatre which is still around today. Here is a drawing of it from 1812, and in fact, it still looks like this, even though the street itself looks very different. Now, I'd like to show you a couple more documents we have on Drury Lane. The first is another poster for a play, this time Cinderella in 1895. And the second is a drawing of the dress rehearsal for the same Cinderella play. You can really get a sense of how busy and bustling the theatre must have been. In those days, it was one of the main forms of entertainment, and huge crowds would gather to watch the latest plays. Perhaps you can chat to an adult or a sibling about a play that you've seen which you have enjoyed. That's all for today, Tots. See you next time for some more storytelling fun. Goodbye.